Alright, we're back. Confirmed back. Alright, cool. And then latency is not bad either. Okay. Yeah, my home Wi-Fi, it's not good. Screw Comcast. And every other company is also bad, but that's what I have. So I'm on the phone hotspot for a bit. That's so annoying. Alright. Run this. So, I don't know how much you heard, but you asked if the better ones are just more complicated. And it's like, I would say, yeah, it's like, they do more for you, but then you don't really know what they're doing at any given time. And actually, like, I'll admit, like, the stuff I use, it does stuff for you. Like, everything in programming does something for you, and you don't know what it does unless you really study it and everything. But it just so happens in my particular setup, I do know what it does, ish. So I'm just like used to it. So it's part of the problem is me, but also like it's such a big jump to these new stuff, and I don't get much benefit from it. The only benefit is I have to do a little bit less typing of like long like sections of code that are redundant, which I can fix that myself, but like managing user logins and access and everything, which this isn't too bad for like, but this is like one variable. So it'll probably be simplified in some of the new stuff, but I just couldn't figure out how to make it good. I don't know what to say. How to make it where I get the benefit that they promise. Let's try that, and let's try. Ooh. So let's try that. They came in the reverse order. So a little walk through here. There's the way most things work, most applications work is there's a server and a client, or most web applications. And in our case, there's a lot of servers and clients floating around, because when you go on Twitch or whatever, Twitch is the server, and you viewing it, that's the client. And there's other clients you can use. You can go on Twitch and use the normal client, or you can use like Chatterino or whatever. I don't use it, but I've heard of it. That's another Twitch client. And you can also, if you want to have a bot do it, where is it? There it is. You can use this thing called tmi.js. That one, it just connects to Twitch chat as a bot, and then the messages come through into your code, and then you can process them and send messages back. So for example, like TMI, oops, where's the usages? So it's like, you have to set up TMI with like the bot username and your authentication secret or whatever, token. And then you've got this TMI client, and you can say, whenever there's a message, call this function. And then you can write your own code to process the message. And then you can say like, where is it? TMI client.say, like send a message. So yeah, it's the basic flow is like the message comes through, it gets sent to this thing, whatever you want. You can put whatever you want here. For me, I just have a function. So it's just like in the basic example code. But then I expanded on it. And then I make sure I'm not, because whispers come through for some reason, and I do some stuff. But then eventually I send it off to this thing to handle the commands. And then it says if there's help in the command, or I guess the entire thing, the entire message is help, it'll send back this message. So there we go. And then it has all these other commands that'll do stuff. The other aspect is this part here, for the combined chat. So this send chat, I don't need to get into it right now, but basically, this is the Twitch message handler. Will send the chat, and then the YouTube equivalent will also send the chat to the same place. And then that's just packaged away in a thing. Which info to commands you want to do? TMI is more broad than that even. It allows you to basically take over a Twitch account as a piece of code instead of a human typing. So anything a human could do, the bot could do, I think, well, to an extent. So like, it can @ people, it can reply to messages. Like, I just think of it as like if it was a person doing this, like you put help in the chat and then the person sees that and says like, oh, I need to like find the response and for that, I'll put that up. But as you'll see with like the nickname part, it can respond with arbitrary things like I can @ the bot. I mean, you've seen this before, but I guess I'll just do it. And I just have it connected to a chat bot. Where's my mouse? There we go. Is it working? It's not working. Oh yeah, I disabled it on the thing because I didn't want conflicts when I was running it locally. So that makes sense. So I just have to enable it. Oh, also, I can show how to enable it. So yeah, anyone can do this. You just log in with Twitch. Or I'll just do this to, you log in with, or you go to here. There'll be nothing there. You log in and then it literally just asks you like, oh, do you want to log in with Twitch? I already said yes, so there. It'll bring you to your own channel and you just enable it. There we go. Now I can @ the bot. Okay, it doesn't make sense, but you can see it isn't just commands. It can reply with anything, and that's TMI as well. So the other big part of this, so yeah, Twitch is a server, and TMI is a client. There's also the aspect of this web page being a server, and we'll go back to the other bot first. The multi-chat thing. This web page comes from like my server. And it's kind of hard to explain. It's like there's all sorts of details that goes into it, but you can think of a server as just like a black box that messages go in and out. And I found it's common knowledge, I connected that black box up to a domain name. So like, this coolbot.jgv.sh. I own that domain name, the jgv.sh, and so I connected my bot to this domain name. I can show that. Let me zoom in. There we go. I'll just go in here so I can scroll. So yeah, here's my main website. It's saying this domain name goes to this container with this port, and I'll get into that later, but, or maybe I don't need to, I don't know. Where's Coolbot? There. So then this domain name goes to this container and this port, so multi-stream bot, that's the name of the container. So when I deploy, I take my code and I put it into a container and run it on the server. So yeah, I didn't even explain this part. Right now this is a terminal that's running on my laptop, and SSH lets me log into remote servers, and so this is the domain name of the server there that I have, which, you know about IP addresses, it's connected to an IP address, and then from there you can do subdomains and all this stuff. I'm kind of glossing over a lot, but anyway, I can connect from my laptop. Now I'm logged into the remote server, and I can do all sorts of stuff. I can see what files are here. So I got all sorts of containers. These are actually just like the files associated with the container. OFPS. This is all the containers that are running and the various like subdomains of the website. Um, I forget which subdomain it is. I have to go back into this file. There. Now, for instance, here's another app that I made. You can make a 3D printed Among Us. Originally, we had it where you could request a print, and then we would print it. This is for like a robotics team. But now you just download the CAD file, or the STL file, and you print it yourself. Yeah, the domain is just a way to get you to the code. And so all this stuff I'm showing with the domain, the container, all this, that's the server. Then what the server does is, it's this black box sitting up here. It sends down. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, there's a piece of code that I found, or an application actually, that I actually install into the server. That's it. That runs inside the black box, where it's like processing STL files automatically. So like here, we can put whatever we want on here. I have one that I printed that says got drip. I can't spell. Got drip. And then of course you got to add the shoes. Then it generates it. It actually takes this long to generate. It's not very fast. But despite being a different domain name, it's actually running on the same server, which can be confusing. There's just some routing that I had to set up for that. So there we go, and there it is. It's got the shoes, and it says got drip. Let me find the, where would that be? I don't know where I put it, but I have a similar one. 1 second. Oh, I found the exact one. It was just right there. I thought that was the different one. Check this out. Here, full cam. Is it backwards? My cam backwards? Anyway, got drip. It is backwards, because this is how you're seeing it. Why is my cam backwards? Is there a way to flip it? Transform. Flip horizontal, but it's not letting me. Alright, I'm not going to worry about it right now. There we go. Oh, so that's that app. So yeah, you can do, I didn't even finish explaining server client. Yeah, the server processes everything. So the thing is though, this page you're seeing is the client, which is confusing because you went to the server. But what the server does, it's this black box. It actually sends you down some code as the client, or which is the client. A lot of things like, there's two main paradigms. One is like that, where it sends the code. The other is like you already have it. So like OBS, for example, you install OBS, that's the client. It connects to Twitch, that's the server. And OBS is just its own thing. It's just there, it never changes. I mean, you can update OBS. Twitch never changes OBS, is what I'm trying to say. Even though your OBS is the client to Twitch's server. And that's kind of like a one paradigm. Then the other is where the server handles everything, including sending the code for the client. And so that's how websites work. Instead of having to install an app for every website you visit, you don't have to do that. You just get the code from the server every time. And it has advantages and disadvantages. Like if they have an update to the website, they just do it, and then everyone gets the update. Whereas if OBS has an update, everyone's got to be like, have a pop-up on their computer and be like, hey, it's time to install this. Or in Linux, it has a package manager to do all that in the background, but it's just a whole process to update. Whereas a website, you just deploy something and the users don't even have to think about it. They just see the new one when they go there. But I mean, you do have to refresh the page whenever there's an update, to be fair. So like, if you still have OBS open or something from your last stream, it might have the old code for this chat window that you had on there. So you might have to delete the browser source, or change the URL in the browser source and then change it back or something just to get it to reload. There's probably a reload button in there. Yeah, refresh cache of current page. There. Yeah, so you can just like do that and it'll get the latest. Cookies, yeah, so that's the other thing is there's cookies don't do what you're saying, but caching does what you're saying. So like this image here on this web page, it's not going to load that one every time. The browser's going to save it and not have to grab it every time unless it changes. And cookies, though, that's for like login information, so you don't have to keep logging in every time. And then you can have multiple tabs that are also logged in. And I mean, actually, this app does have cookies. Oh, I gotta do /login. Let me just grab my password here. I think I want to try to explain it again a different time because this is kind of janky. Or no, maybe I'll make a highlight of this or something. Because like I'm not super great at explaining these things. So that's server and client. And so yeah, what you're seeing on the web page is the client, but it's sent right from the server. So then that's where I'm going back to the two files that has all the code. So this is the server, it's just server.js, and then this is the client, it's called index.html. I mean, that's just like old convention. Like you used to go to a site and type index.html. Restart it to, I think I'll be fine. I guess I should take a look at the timestamp. Yeah, it's like 18 minutes in. Okay. And I do have some vacation coming up, so I have plenty of time to edit this. And if I figure that it's like too disorganized, I'll probably just write some notes of like what I want to explain, and then to explain it again, and then edit that. I don't know. We'll see. It's either way, it's not going to be very dense. It's not going to be like a good video. It's going to be kind of long, but we'll figure it out. All right. So the thing about the client is like it doesn't really have that much going on. It's basically just rendering things. And the key thing about the client is you can inspect element. I actually have it open, and you can add whatever you want to the client, and look at whatever you want. So if you put a secret into the client, oh, also I prepared for this. This is redacted. So these are all the secrets, but they've all been redacted for the server that the server has. If any of these secrets make their way to the client, I mean this one's not really a secret. It's just a config item. So are these. But if any of these stuff that were as they were before they're redacted make their way to the client, someone can inspect element, grab that, and do whatever they want. For example, if they get my Twitch, let's say this one, Twitch OAuth token, then they can connect to TMI as the bot, and they can log in as the bot. And same with these, except with that's more like this feature, the login with Twitch feature. So the point is these secrets are secret, and you got to keep them that way by not giving them out as part of the client. And so that introduces some interesting dynamics. Like you can't just write a client-only application, or rather like you think of the client here, and then my server here, and then Twitch is over here. You can't get rid of my server that I have going on, because that way the secrets would get into the client, so then people would be able to impersonate me and do whatever. Even though it would technically kind of look like it was working, it would be really insecure. But the other thing is, anything you send from the client could be changed it could be manipulated by the person using it. They could inspect element and like send random stuff as they wish. And so on the server, you got to be careful to sanitize all your data. I guess this is also like I'm explaining. Yeah, that's how hacks happen. I'm explaining all of this sort of from a perspective of security first, which might not be the best to explain it all, but I think it's good to know why these things exist, because if you didn't have any worries for security, you wouldn't have this middle server that I have. You would just have the client do everything and then send it to Twitch, and then it would just trust it. But of course, like, just trusting whatever people are sending is not always the best. So yeah, I have my server in the middle, which defines the logic of how everything works. That's what the server usually does, and says, this is the logic, I'm going to enforce that. No one can change it except the server owner, which is me, and any clients that want to use this have to communicate through me, follow my kind of logic. I'll make sure everything's good, send it to Twitch, send it back, whatever it needs to do. That's kind of how it works. So I guess in this case, like, security is kind of a big deal, because like, if you think about Twitch, like, moderation is a huge deal. You gotta have the tools to keep people from spamming in your chat. Like, if you didn't have a way to ban people or slow mode or whatever, you would really have a hard time, like, with any sort of number of users. So in the same way, it's like, if I make my stuff kind of bad, it's just going to be useless. Because yeah, the worst they can do is just send messages in a chat with my bot, and then the bot will get banned or something because it's people send whatever they want. But then that way it's just useless. So security kind of is a requirement for it to be useful. I guess that's the other thing. There's a lot of crazy people online that watch streams, and so they'd probably be doing this stuff. But just because people might not do something doesn't mean you shouldn't secure against it. But anyway, that's enough on security, I guess. So, okay, one important thing is the redacted elements. Oh, did I close that? Yeah. So, yeah, okay, I'll go through that then. This is a file that's sitting on the server. So, okay, actually, before I explain that, the server is actually the server or my laptop when I'm testing. Because if I wanted to change the code, and I can only run it on the actual server, the real thing that's production environment, I would have to keep changing it, upload it, and then it's like, oh, that didn't work, syntax error, or like, you typed something wrong, your logic's weird. I always like to have a quick cycle of like, change, test, see what happened, change, test, see what happened. And the shorter that time is, the more you can get done, because it's like, it becomes an extension of yourself. Like, imagine if you were playing tennis or something, and every time you swung the racket, it took like 2 seconds to actually swing it. Like, you wouldn't be able to use that as like an extension of yourself. In the same way, if you have to change the code on the server every time, that introduces like a few minutes of deploy time and everything, make sure everything's right, and then you can run it, and then it just fails with some simple error. So it's kind of, what are you even doing? So I have to test it locally. It runs on my laptop as if the laptop was the server. And so then in that context, the server is just this program running, and then the client is my web browser. So yeah, how can they not see these? These are stored on the server. And so they can't get to the files on the server. Yeah, exactly. The video edit example is a really good one. I'll have to use that analogy because, yeah, in this field or whatever, people will probably understand that. That would be an interesting poll. What percentage of streamers have edited a video? Probably a lot of the YouTube streamers have edited more videos. Beyond like highlighting. Alright, so this is stored on the server. You can't get to things on the server if you're just on the client. And then the server imports them. So there's this thing called .env, which you tell it to import files. So this is the path to it. And that's the real one, not the redacted one. And then from there it will populate those variables. So for example, Twitch superadmin username equals this. It'll be as if you put this into the code almost. It'll be as if you put like that. This is like, it's executing stuff like this from that file. It's just reading the file and just adding those variables. And this process env, so then later you can read this. Oops, I copied the line instead of pasting it. You can read this and use it for stuff. This process env, you can actually set those when you're running the thing. Ooh, I got an idea. Oh, but you're not logged in. I could change the super admin, is what I was gonna do, to you or something. I can do this. Oops. I hit Control Shift C. My bad. So when I run the server with this npm start command, I can provide these to override the options. Actually, I think the secret file might override it again. It's confusing, but I don't use that. I just use the secret file as a way to do that. I could do it differently, but it's whatever. So yeah, those are stored in the server. Sorry. So it says Twitch superadmin on the client. So no, the client doesn't know about superadmin or any of these. It doesn't, I mean, superadmin's a bad example. It doesn't know this bot OAuth token. It doesn't even know it exists. Superadmin, yeah, it kind of does, because like when you log in, but it doesn't know that this OAuth token exists. The client doesn't. And so if the client needs something related to this, because what you use this for is sending chat messages, reading chat, whatever. If the client needs to send a chat message, it can't. There's no way for it to do it unless the server has sort of a middleman, sort of gatekeeper for the client to say, hey, can you send a chat message for me? You've got the token, so I can't. The client says, I can't do it. You got to do it, server. So the server says, yeah, I have the token. I can send the message for you. And that's could be set up. I actually don't have that set up because I don't want like to allow clients to send messages. That's the whole point of these secrets. There are use cases where it's like, okay, I guess it's partly true. There is one way to send a message, which is like change someone's nickname or whatever. Then that sends a message like, hey, this nickname was changed to this. But it's like a very restricted thing. And that's what I said earlier about the server controls like the logic, and it enforces that logic just by the fact that it has the secrets. And it like can do, it just follows its own logic of the code. The client can request whatever it wants, bombard it with whatever, but the server like only follows the exact logic, just because I'm the only one who has access to that logic, or to change that logic. Okay, so that's those. Yeah, the other thing is there's two types of connections to a server. There's sort of a one-time connection, and then there's like an ongoing connection. So the one-time connection, it's called a request, or like an HTTP request or whatever. And it's basically what your browser does all the time. When I hit enter on here, oh, it's already loaded. When I hit enter on here, that's an HTTP request to the server, and it says, give me the thing that's at this URL, Universal Resource Locator. So it's saying, give me the resource at this location. Actually, there's a special case here, which is this hashtag or this pound sign. That doesn't get sent to the server. That stays locally, and then the client can process that data. But let's say I don't have that. Whoops. Put an extra. Yeah. This is the resource. And then like if I click on pop out chat, this is a different resource. In this question mark, this stuff does get sent to the server. Oh, hey. Someone liked the stream on Mastodon. That's cool. I don't even know that was a feature on Owncast, liking a stream. That's cool. Anyway, so this is part of the URL. So I guess I'll go through this one real quick. And this is the one-time connection, not the live one. And I'll get to that in a second. So, did I miss it? There it is. So this one slash chat, that's this part. This first part is just the domain name, and since I'm running locally, it's this. If I'm running it for real, where is it? Oh, well, I didn't put a chat thing. Then it's this, with the domain name. But I'm running locally, so it's just that. Then we have the chat, which is this route. Yes, the route. Then we have parameters. After the question mark, channel equals whatever, that's a parameter. And so channel, or rec.query.channel. That's, or query parameters, that's right, query parameters. And then you can also define a background color, but the default is transparent. So I could say BG color equals, let's make it red. Oh, it didn't work. Oh, is it BG or background? BG color. Oh, it has to be without the hashtag because that makes it local. Yeah. Oh, it's I need the symbol for the hashtag, I think. So I can just type red actually. There we go. And I'll type a chat message, why not? Oh, well, it has all the other stuff. I didn't need to test it. But anyway, yeah, it's horrendous. But if you wanted like gray or something, there we go, or black. But it defaults to transparent. So yeah, that's the query parameters. So that's a one-time connection. Is this HTTP request that goes to a URL, Universal Resource Locator, and it's handled by these routes, app.get, and then the route, and then then you provide sort of a callback function, which is like we had with the TMI client on message received. Yeah, on message handler, you're providing a callback. And so if we were to break that out, it would make a little more sense. This whole thing here is a callback. I would call it my callback. We'd have to define that. And we can even make that more clear, like this. And then this is the inputs to the function, and we can even put function, I think. Yeah, function, and then that. This is just different syntax for the same thing. So a function with these two inputs, request, which is going to contain the information, and response, which is yet another callback-ish type thing, or like a way to send stuff back. And usually functions will return a value, but in this case, we're using a parameter to send data. So it's a little bit weird, but and so then what this is sending back is like a file basically, but it's just sending it from the code instead of an actual file. Some of these are actually sending, yeah, send res.send file, and it'll send like this little thingy here that's called a fav icon. So that's this, that's this. But this one's sending just data as if it was a file, or like, yeah, it doesn't matter. And it's actually rendering this chat template, so I actually closed that. Oh no, I didn't. There. This whole template thing, it's going to render that, and it's going to like replace these placeholders with the actual thing. So channel, it's going to replace with the channel that you requested in the query parameters, and same with background color. So everywhere it sees this channel, it's going to replace that, and then where's background color? Yeah, it's also replacing channel here, and then there it's replacing background color. So that's the one-time request. Yeah, the request. So in this case, this variable is sort of a representation of that request, all the data that's contained in that request. So yeah, and this is a response. Yeah, that's what it's short for. And it's not actually the data in the response, it's sort of an object that manages the response. Because at this point, when your function is called, you haven't responded yet. The function's job is to respond. And you can do that by saying, by using this response object to send stuff. And the response object is kind of part of the connection, the one-time connection. So the connection is actually open whenever your function is called, or that's what you're assuming. Everything goes right. And the data has already been retrieved, but it's waiting for the server. So at this point, the client has done its request. It's waiting for the data from the server, which you'll send with this. And it's important because you can actually do logic here. You can say like, oh, check this thing, do that thing, do whatever, and then we'll send a response. So you have some time. And then you send a response, whatever that it could be. It could just be as simple as like res.send hi. And then actually I'll demo that real quick. Wait for it. There we go. Now it just says hi instead of this entire web page. So, you know, that's kind of useless, but it's just to show it off. I'll put this back. And then once the response is sent, the connection's closed. That's why it's a one-time, or because it's a one-time connection. So when you get an error saying waiting for a response, yeah, the server timed out. The client said, hey, I requested this like a minute ago and nothing happened, so I'm going to error out and assume nothing happened. Assume no response. Well, the server doesn't send back logic. It didn't send back data. The logic is just what goes on to produce the data that is the response. Let me just reload this. Oop. Okay, I mean, it's not going to have any data yet. But. All right, so then, or any chat data. So then that's the one-time thing. And so we use that on all these things, these routing sort of mappings between a route and a piece of logic that will produce data as a response. The other type of connection is a live connection. And that's what Twitch uses for chat. Anything chat related is going to be like that. Oh, and of course it's connected to YouTube chat, because like every time I kill this locally, that's the downside of testing locally, or of testing and killing all the time. It would be the same remotely. All right, where's a good example of the live thing? So it's I use this thing called socket.io. Wait, where is it? Am I blind? There it is. So I use this thing called socket.io, which underneath it uses, the logic is the code, yeah, and the data is what the code produces, correct, yeah. I guess that's a lot of programming is thinking about like data and logic and which thing is happening where. Also, environment is a big thing. I haven't even talked about that because all this is running on Linux on my laptop and also my server. I think it would run on just as fine on Windows. Actually, there's a few things weird that had to change. But there's also the element of a container is part of the environment, and I'll get to that later. But anyway, so the live connection, that's socket.io, is what I use. And underneath it uses WebSockets. And if the WebSocket fails, it'll take a one-time connection and just spam it like every few seconds. So like it'll pretend it has a live connection. It'll just have some delay. And actually that's why the YouTube chat has some delay, is because their weird API doesn't give you the live connection like Twitch does. It just gives you this API. So I could try and figure it out, but I found some existing code that was like claiming like this is like the best we could do, and it still isn't the live connection. So YouTube just doesn't provide it. But anyway, I have I have control of the server, so I can set up my own live connection. I don't have to be restricted to only one-time connections. And also Twitch happens to support it. So I define the socket.io, and then I can do something as simple as io.send or io.emit, and then I can put a channel and a piece of data. And the channel, you can name it whatever you want, as long as it's the same on the server and client. Yeah, it would give a constant response. So I think I can even do, I could be wrong, io.emit. No, because io is like inside a thing. I don't have a good way to demo it, but the client and server have this io.emit they can call. and you specify a channel and a piece of data. You can also combine things for the channel. So like, I just use the Twitch channel / chat. So I didn't want to just use the channel because it's doesn't like it. You want to have your name just be understandable. So like, if you get a message on the Twitch channel, it's like, was that for the chat? Was that for some sort of event? Let's see. Current solution is one-time connection, basically refresh it. Yeah, that's the YouTube chat one. Yeah. And that's something that YouTube has to fix because, like I said before, the server, which in this case is YouTube's servers, has to, or it enforces the logic. So I can't change the way they do things. I mean, I can do whatever I want on the client, and that's what a lot of people have done, but there's just fundamental limitations of I can't make a live connection to a server which is not accepting live connections. So the socket, it's that live connection of whenever I emit, something else will receive it. So I guess, oh shoot, yeah. So this is the important thing is whenever, so the server runs the socket code, whenever the client connects to the socket, we have this callback again. So here is the callback, and I could do this same thing. Let me know if this makes it clearer or not, this separating this out. I define a function here, and I give it to this listener that will call my custom function whenever it gets a message, or not when it gets a message, when it gets a connection, a new client connecting to the server. Then inside this callback, I create two more callbacks. One when it's disconnected. That's not too important. It's just for logging purposes, like, hey, we disconnected. The other one is when the client sends a message. I guess I don't need this anymore. Yeah, but like you can have a thing of like, because I'm not actually listening for much, but I'll leave this here just for now. Like I could process a message like, yeah, this is a bad example because it doesn't do two-way. But like, yeah, I can send messages to the server and it'll be like, hey, I got the message. But it has to be on this channel right now just because that's the only one it's listening on. I could change that and be like, oh, there, chat. And then I could be like, TMI client dot say. So I could like forward the chat. Like whatever the client say, I could have the bot say that. But that would be dangerous. But yeah, the important thing is we have the, and I guess it's not strictly necessary, this entire thing, just for logging right now, because there's no two-way. Sorry about, yeah, I'm sorry that's a little confusing, but we'll get to it when we get to the client of like what we're seeing there. So then we have this thing here on the server, whenever it gets a message from Twitch or YouTube, it can emit that message. And I'm defining like a common format between the two because the way the data is sent from Twitch and YouTube is very different. But I'm making it very simple of like, you give me a username, color, emotes in the Twitch format, which the YouTube ones don't even work because it is the Twitch format and I'll have to adapt them later, and just the message text. I'm assuming you're saying when a client connects to the server. Yeah, the socket does establish the live connection. Socket.io is a library, and it's establishing a WebSocket connection. So I guess it's time to look at the client just to see a better example. Here we go, yeah. And I'll go to the chat one, this is simpler. So this is only 100 lines of code, and this is enough for the pop-out chat functionality. Oh, whoops. I gotta go down in here and then, yeah, and then I can select that. There we go. So this is all 100 lines of code for the client here. So here we go. So now we initialize the client side socket. The client is the pop-out chat window or the web page here. And yeah, so that would be just like the little thingy in OBS. This is the client. Okay, so yeah, so it does that. It makes the initializes the socket on the client. Then it puts up 3 different listeners. So whenever there's a new connection, we're going to have this callback, which is here. Socket emit. Yeah, and so this is just going to send a response. So whenever I connect to the server successfully, I send something. And this is not strictly necessary. I used to have some stuff it would send back, but I don't anymore. And that actually is this, because it's init. That's the same channel as this init here. And so it's just going to get data. I don't even use that data. Okay. Then if the connection fails or disconnects, I don't know why these are two different ones, but they are. It just calls this error thing just to let me know. And actually, it doesn't even let me know. It lets the client know. Who you have to open your console window to see if anything even happens. So for example, if the server goes down, we see this socket error. And it's giving me some more information, but I know why it failed. Close that. Put the server back up. Then this is the important part. It's going to start listening on whatever channel it's configured with. So in this case, my channel /chat, and that's the name of the. It's just going to add that string together. That's the name of the thing it's listening on. And then this is the callback. So this is really the important part. Whenever I get a message, all it's going to do is just add it to a variable. And there's a special case, which is I added today, the clear command. Whenever you do the clear command, it's just going to clear. Oh, and then the bot responded afterwards, but whatever. It clears the chat. So this is our variable that stores our chat messages. When it's clear, we're going to just set it to empty array. And if it's any other thing happening, not a clear command, it's going to add the message. Yeah, it just put another message after the clear. Okay. The other thing is, like, I might as well explain now. So that's pretty much the live connections. Is like, that's why I use Socket.io. They just make it a little bit simpler than WebSockets. I mean, I probably could just use WebSockets, but whatever. Here's the other part. So this is actually different, a little bit different looking syntax because it's called Vue.js, a library. And I like it because it's like a front-end library that's just the front end. It doesn't like engulf your back end as well. You can just use it for the front end, and that's what I always do. Haters will say that I'm stuck in the past, but Vue is a modern framework, even so. But my back end is not modern. Whatever. Haters will say I'm stuck in the past. Oh, sorry. Front end is the client, back end is the server. That's just synonyms. Because if you think about like a store, or like a like a store, you got the storefront and like the place inside where the customers are, and then you got like the we'll check in the back type thing. And then they don't. They go in back there and walk around in a circle 3 times, come out and be like, we don't have it. No, I'm just kidding. And actually, I wonder if there's an equivalent on the server. There could be. You could, like, the client has no idea what's going on the server, so you could just make stuff up on the server and be like, yeah, I checked, we don't have that. But that's just kind of doesn't really happen, because that wouldn't make any sense. All right. So, because of Vue.js, we can take this HTML, which, if you don't know about HTML, that's a whole separate thing I'm not going to cover. But it's like, HTML is sort of like data, but it stands for Hypertext Markup Language. And a markup language is just a document format. So like, normally when you're writing a document, let me wait for this to open. Whenever I'm streaming, everything's so slow. Whenever you're writing a document, you can have like bold text and all that stuff. But a markup language is like a very strict representation of that. So if you're using like Microsoft Word, there we go. I mean, I'm using equivalent of Microsoft Word. You can do different things. So like Control 1 and boom, it's got like large text, whatever. But the file that this saves is like super horrendous in programming terms. So if I actually open up the file that's generated with this, it's actually a zip file. So I have to rename it as zip. And I don't know if this works for Microsoft Word. But then I open up content, and here's all this stuff. So I look for my text. There we go. There's the text that I typed. Can't even zoom in on here. Whatever. And then there's a paragraph. And so it actually is looking similar to HTML, but it's a little bit different. It's like XML, or it is XML. So it's another markup language, the ML. But this is like a very like cluttered format of that. Whereas if I wanted to do the same thing in a simpler language, I would use Markdown. There we go, and I should be able to preview it, right? Yeah. So I would simply do, I'll just copy all this, do this text, and I would add that, and it would make it a large thing, and I would add new lines, and that would make new paragraphs. So there we go. This is a much simpler Markdown language than, did I already close it? No, than this. And it's got all sorts of metadata and fonts and everything. And so HTML is similar to this, except we have to do it like this instead. Just a different way of doing it. HTML is older, so it's a little bit less intuitive than Markdown, but there we go. And then for these, we got to do paragraphs, or a P tag. And it's I'm getting away with not doing some of this because it's smart. My editor's smart, but yeah. So I guess I said I wouldn't get into HTML, but I did. Anyway, now the thing is, on top of HTML, let's say because HTML can't do stuff that changes, and our chat is going to change. Yeah, it's going to be adding messages. And so actually, what ends up happening is it starts out with a certain thing of HTML, and then the HTML itself changes. But there's actually code driving that, because the HTML itself can't handle it. So like it's adding these individual elements here as the chat comes in. So that's our Vue.js. In normal JavaScript, so JavaScript is the code that runs on the Markdown is a simple version of markup. Markdown is like think of it as like a brand name. Markup is like the general concept. Markdown is like a specific language. Yeah, HTML is the text stuff, but it's like, what's it called? Rich text or whatever. I don't know. But you can think of it as almost just text. And you can do some pretty crazy stuff with HTML, and especially with CSS, but none of it is dynamic. It's all static. It all just sits there, doesn't change. You can have CSS animations, but they're just going to be looping or whatever. But when you want to get into, here, I'll do this, dynamic content, then you use JavaScript. And there's other ways to do it, but you have to use some sort of code. So we're using JavaScript. In normal JavaScript, you would have to do, let's do an example here. So this chat full screen, or this messages, yeah, ID equals messages. So what I'll do here is say document.query selector messages. That's going to select my message container. Add element, is that right? No. Add? I don't remember. I can do this though. Inner HTML plus equals, here we go. Because I don't really do stuff in such a low level that often. There we go. So now I've added another chat item with this HTML code by saying, get me this container, give me this element. I mean, you can, yeah. Container is an overloaded word. We'll just say, give me this element that's called messages, or that has the ID of messages, and then add on to its inner HTML this HTML. And so now that is actually contained within the HTML. And this is called the DOM, the document object something, I don't know. It's where my knowledge starts to deteriorate. But we're not done, it'll deteriorate further. Yes, you can find, so okay, it's not Java. That is a piece of history right there. JavaScript was made after Java, and it was a new language, so they wanted to make it credible, so they named it JavaScript. Has no relation to Java whatsoever. It's just a bit of a rip-off of the name. I need to get some water. Just to get the clout, literally. I don't even know why I have the headphones on. There's no like audio playing. Yep. It's pretty funny. There's a lot of funny programming history things. But okay, so that's that. So that's the old way of doing it, is this document query selector, inner HTML, blah, 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 which actually I might go back to if this is inefficient, because this is the most efficient way to do it, like the fastest, least lag, whatever way to do it. But this is a lot easier to think about, where instead of taking this data, this HTML, and manipulating it and saying, inject this piece of it, inject another chat message, all you do is you define sort of a way you want it to show up. And actually this is like a concept of imperative programming versus declarative. Imperative is like, do this, do this, do this. Declarative is like, I want a tree with branches and leaves, and and it's kind of more like painting a picture rather than giving instructions on how to paint a picture. And so we can have our entire picture here. There's no craziness going on of like things patching in and hacking in and getting in each other's way. What we do is we say, so if we get rid of this, it's just a normal HTML. Ignore the style stuff. This is just basic HTML here. Then we add a special tag, I don't know what these are called, a special thing inside this tag. So this is a normal HTML tag, but we add a special property, I guess, which is this v4. So that's Vue.js specific. Vue4, so this is going to be like a for loop. And so it's like this weird thing where it's going to take this HTML tag and copy it as many times as we have chat messages. And so for each message in chat, it's going to have another tag. And then within that, we can start referencing the message, the individual message, because this is going to be kind of copied. The message username is going to go here, and it's going to have a certain color and bold and all this stuff. Oh, also this should be, yeah. Oh no, because I'm going to leave it. It works. It's just a little bit, I think it's a little bit incorrect. Maybe not. Maybe not. We'll see. Okay, sorry. Back on track. Message username, and then a colon, and then the message text. But we have a special case for emotes. If there are emotes, then we got to loop through them. This is what I was just working on at the beginning of the stream. And if there's, so it's going to loop through the chunks of like before an emote, the emote itself, after the emote, another emote, text, emote, and it's going to differentiate each one. So if it's an emote, it puts an image into there, and otherwise it puts the value. And so this is like, still follows the same structure as HTML, but you got these things that are duplicating and if else and all this stuff. And then Vue.js manages all that. And the way that it stores like data, so like chat, where's it getting that? That's actually in the Vue.js data. So I can take all this code that I was showing you earlier about, populate this array, and I can separate the logic from the display. I know I said the server has all the logic. This, I kind of lied, which is I kind of lied about a lot of stuff because I needed to oversimplify it. There is logic in the client. It's just really basic logic of like, if there's a clear command, then clear it, otherwise add it. Like that's technically logic, but it's really basic. And you'll see clients that have a ton of logic in it, but for the most part, it's like, I view clients as sort of like usually less light on the logic than the server. But, it just depends on the situation. It's not a rule, it's just like, that's the other thing about programming, is nothing's a rule, only a convention. Biology has a lot of exceptions too. Oh man. That's even crazier, because like, at least in programming, it's like people put it together to be as logical as possible. You can just like try to make it make sense. In biology, it's like evolution comes up with these crazy things that somehow work, and like systems that are so complicated, there's no requirement for anyone to understand it for it to work in biology. It just works. Like, we don't understand how we think. Something so complicated as the human brain cannot be understood by something so simple as the human brain. But it works. Can't deny that it works. And so, but with programming, someone's got to write the code. A human brain has to write the code. And so that limits the ways that things can work and actually be functional. And so, yeah, you end up with exceptions in every case, but it's like, it's within the realm of possibility to be understood in our lifetimes. There's all those caveats. But yeah, everything has exceptions. So yeah, take everything I say with a grain of salt, because I haven't even gotten into like, I don't know if you have any programming background at all. I'm assuming not, but haven't even gotten into how it actually runs on a machine. Code can be limited by your imagination. Basically, so there's something called Turing completeness, and it's a property of a programming language that says like, so Alan Turing was a like icon in computer science, like made the, what's it called, that cracked the Enigma in World War II. So it was like, what was it called? It was just this giant machine, mechanical stuff going on. Or no, was it electrical? It was mechanical, actually. Yeah. There was electric like circuits at the time, but I think they had a combination of it. I'm really rusty. I forget. I'm not good with history, but that was such a cool thing that like, because I got to see an Enigma machine, which is like a German typewriter with encryption. I saw it in a museum. They had one that you could actually type on and decode and whatnot. So that's the only reason I know anything about this, is because of that. Otherwise, I'm like terrible when it comes to history. But yeah, like what was I saying? Alan Turing. Yeah, the Turing test, Turing completeness. Turing test is a different thing. Turing completeness means you can do anything in a language, basically, because he had. Is he in a? I mean, people make all sorts of. Modern computer science culture is whack. Because, they've got these icons of computer science that all these computer scientists know, and then you got all the computer science memes and the anime and the everything. Back on track. Turing completeness is he made a concept called a Turing machine, which was, I think he proved it, I don't know. He showed that it could be used to calculate anything, to simulate any algorithm. And it was a very simple machine. It just had, and it was a design, not like an actual practical thing, just thought experiment. You have like a tape with different slots that can contain different symbols, and you have a tape head that could write and read the symbols and do certain things. I'm a little rusty on this too. It's not even history. It's just computer science. But if you can simulate a Turing machine in your language, that's an easy way to prove that your thing is Turing complete. It can calculate anything. And so, yeah, like every programming language is Turing complete. HTML is not Turing complete, and so it's not a programming language. It's a markup language. That's the key there. It's when I said like static or dynamic, I'm thinking Turing complete. You can do whatever you want. Static, I'm thinking not Turing complete. It's just data. It's just sitting there. Maybe you can have some cool effects, but can't calculate pi or something. And then, why does that matter? Why was I talking about what's Turing complete? Because I think that explains it, but I forget what I was doing before that. I think I'm done with explaining this, right? Do you remember what I was saying? uh, oh, yeah. I was saying I haven't even gotten to how things run on a computer. Because it's like, right now we're kind of living up in the clouds with all these ideas and all this stuff, which can be very daunting. But the long and short of it is I can go on my computer. Let me just even make it even simpler. Just a terminal. And you can do this on Windows and Mac. You'll have to use Notepad instead of whatever. But if I go and make a temporary file, and I do this, and then I run that, boom. That's the power of programming right there. And, oh, hey. Hello, Abraham Pardo. Wait, where are you joining from? YouTube? It's not showing up in the other thing. Yeah, YouTube. I guess Stream Elements sucks, because this thing over here is Stream Elements. I can't move that one into. Wait, why is my mic muted? In OBS. It didn't run out of battery. Yeah, there's the old battery. Sorry about that. How long is I muted for? What was the last thing I said? No, I said what are we talking about? That was like 2 seconds ago. Weird. Delete this. Only 10 seconds. Okay, I don't know why my mic muted. I probably hit space bar or something. Yeah, you can do whatever you want with code. If you want to influence things in the real world. Okay, good. If you want to influence things in the real world, you need like Turing completeness doesn't prove anything about that. You need like robots and whatnot, and like who knows, like as far as doing anything you want. But yes, the other thing that I haven't read this anywhere, but I'm assuming like there's some paper on it or whatever. I wonder what it would be to say Turing completeness, but for timing wise, because a Turing machine, if you were to actually implement it, and people have, it's slow. So like doing things in real time, like real time is not a real thing. It's not a definition. You could say like, oh, within 1 second, that's a real thing. But real time is this like vague concept. Like if it's like, oh, we're going to process chat messages in real time, you could be as slow as a second and be like, yeah, it's probably fine. But if it's like we're going to process like the data for a nuclear reactor in real time, you probably need, nanosecond accuracy or whatever. But yeah, Turing completeness doesn't prove that you can do it in a reasonable amount of time. And you can't even prove whether or not a a program stops or not, like eventually, like just looking at the program. It's super weird getting into the field of like what you can and can't prove. The other thing is the environment of like, I was just showcasing this because you can do this, but you have to have a certain environment. You have to have this node. You have to have that installed, Node.js. And it works on the Windows console as well. You just have to like find the file and all this. It's just all these random little weird things about it. And I really only got into, I got into programming. It was on Windows. It was through a Linux interface though, where I could run Bash, which is what, well, similar to what this is. You can be like, hey, what's going on? All these little commands and stuff. That was the first language I learned. But I didn't really go into other languages until I got onto Linux because doing stuff on Windows is so annoying. It's better now. At work I use Windows because they have the Linux subsystem thing. So I use that all the time. Even though that's really annoying, but yeah, like the coding environment is kind of a tricky thing. It's sort of like if you were to, like all the things I'm explaining right now other than the environment, it's like explaining woodworking or something without someone ever going into the shop and trying it out, you know? It's like, or without explaining the tools you use. Like saying, like, oh, we need a board that's this shape with this cut and with this whatever, but you don't explain how, like the like the process. And so yeah, if you're gonna go and try any of this stuff, it's like, yeah, you need to know more about environment. But there's hope. You can do simple stuff like just like make a file, run it, whatever. Get rid of this. Anyway, so yeah, I don't really have time to get into all that right now, but the environment impact code, it's like it really depends, and that's the problem. Like I've been thinking about this because of like ChatGPT and the way that'll impact coding environments, where maybe your environment includes some sort of AI prompt instead of like this is like a shell prompt with like commands and stuff, but an AI prompt could be more integral to multiple systems as time goes on. So is it because of system limitations? Kind of, that's one thing. It's also just because of the differences between different systems and the differences between different things. So like even with Linux, it's like, all right, I run this locally. What version of Node am I on? All right, 18.17.1. And then I run it in this is going to take a second or two. Oop. I run it in the thing. I think this is, yeah, we'll get to the exact one. And we're on a different version of Node, you know, like this. And so it's little things like that. What version of the compiler, or I guess the interpreter you're using? What like environment variables, and so that's like the secrets thing. These are environment variables. They end up as that. So yeah, I really this is something that I'm like, I don't know how to explain it or whatever, so it's kind of coming off disjointed, but that's the general idea. It's just the little things that add up of like, yeah, exactly. And it's like, yes, we both speak the same language, but we speak different versions of the language. Or let's say I run this in Docker, and that runs it a certain way. Or I could deploy it to Heroku. That's like a web service that you can deploy your stuff to. That might run it slightly differently. You have to put in your environment variables through their web interface or something. Or I run it through Kubernetes, which is even more complicated. There's just a billion different ways to deploy things, a billion different ways to run them locally, all this stuff. But I mean, people in, like, as an industry, people have kind of standardized on, like, for web applications, you use Linux, run it on Linux, and if it doesn't work, try and get a more standard version of Linux or Docker or whatever you're like. People kind of manage this, but it's not a solved problem. But anyway, I want to get back to the stuff here. But I think all this is important. It's just like this is something I can't figure out today. But it's good to have, like, I don't know. I don't feel discouraged by that. The fact that there's these unsolved problems, or maybe unsolvable. But it is interesting to think about, like, certain environments can't run certain apps. Like if you need real time, certain environments are just too slow, or they don't have like the performance you need, or it's not scalable, or whatever. There's just all sorts of trade-offs. It just becomes an engineering problem when you're thinking of that. Okay, so that's the chat functionality. That's the Twitch chat. So let's look at the YouTube chat side of things, which I won't spend too long on because it's really janky. It's less janky now, but it's a really interesting thing here. Yeah, some have Windows functionality and not Mac. And when you get to that level, it's like a platform thing. When your environment becomes so different, it's like a different platform. But yeah, if you want to build an application, you got to build it for a specific platform and CPU and everything, or CPU architecture. Okay, so there's an interesting thing here with YouTube chats. The long and short is I've got this plugin or this library called Master Chat that I just downloaded. I can show you. It's really easy. It's just npm, which is Node Package Manager, Master Chat. npm I for install. I could just type install, but I'm lazy. And it installs it. It was already in there, but whatever. And then there. Then I import it. I don't know why they got this weirdness with the import, whatever. It's importing another function as well. Either way, it imported it. So that's why it was so fast to add some of this, is because these are libraries. But there's some finickiness to it. I could call this right here. This is like one of my old streams. Boom. And then I've got a connection to a live chat. But yeah, they both have to update separately. And sometimes you can be clever about it and have like stuff that you have a common code base. That's the thing. If you're clever about it, you can account for multiple environments, multiple platforms with one code base, and just with different config files and everything. But it is a trade-off, because if you just support one platform, you don't have to think about any of that. And actually, corollary, or a similar thing, this chat connection, I was thinking the same thing. Like, yes, I can connect to one chat with my server, with my code here. But then it's like, what if I want multiple streamers to be able to use this? Like if I'm live and you're live, whose chat's going to be connected? So I thought of a way to connect both of them. It's really like not that weird, not that different, but I just had to think about it in a different way. Instead of having a variable, I just have, this is called a map or a dictionary. Or I could have used a list. So I could have done MCs is this one, or we'll do a list of this one and that one, you know, and like you have multiple. It's really like a basic thing, but like then the way you use it is different, so it gets weird. So instead of that, I did a map with these curly braces instead. Oops. And I'll just break it out like this. And each of these needs a key. So it would be like streamer 1, streamer 2. And then I added in some extra data, like I store the YouTube ID as well as the video individually, so that's not too important. The idea is, yes, my code is working to connect to one chat, but now I have multiple chats in this mapping where I can always look it up. So the way I look it up is like YouTube chats, bracket channel, whoops, bracket channel. And then that gets me this object. And this is kind of like the library. I don't know what's in there. I actually don't. I did skim it a little bit, just to see how they were doing things. But I didn't have to do that. So it's, yeah, I don't know what's in here. All I know is they told me how to use it. Yeah, both live chats at the same time. And also in the logging, let me type something in chat, in YouTube chat. In the logging, I did have to add a little tag so you would know which one it was. There we go. So it's saying it's for this Twitch channel. And I just identified by Twitch channel because YouTube IDs are longer. I guess I could use the handle, but I didn't. Like, that's not how the code's working. It's weird. So I standardized on the Twitch chat. So yeah, I added this into the logging, so when I'm debugging, I know which chat it's in. But anyway, that's the important thing about programming, is you can take these building blocks this library gives me, and they gave me an example code that says do this this init thing. They didn't tell me, they told me to put it into just a variable, like I had before, but they didn't say I couldn't. Like, I can just put it in wherever I want. I can put it into this mapping, and it'll still work. That's just like a little example. I don't know if I explained that very well, but yeah. And then when I need each one, I look it up. I'm always adding and removing from this list. It actually starts out empty, because this is just comments. Just starts out empty. And then whenever we make a new one in here, based on whatever video ID, then it's going to add it, where is it? Add it to the mapping there, or the map dictionary. I don't know, dictionary, that's what I'll call it. And yeah, so these curly braces, dictionary, it's like a lookup thing. Then when I want to stop the chat, I want to call this like master chat object dot stop. I look it up, and I go in listener, and then I go stop. Just like listener is the way I laid out the data here. That's the name of this, the value for this key. The key is listener, the value is this object. And then I delete it from the map. Or they should, yeah, map, whatever. It's a problem, different languages call it different things. Yeah, and so then for connecting to YouTube chat, there's a lot of random stuff going on. You're giving a Twitch channel. I have my database that I look up. And by the way, my database is not a real database, it's just a file. This is my database. Very human readable for a database. And this is actually the one on my laptop. The one on the server is going to be different. Multi-stream bot, channels. This is the one on the server. So there's you. This is the person who suggested the command forwarding, who wanted that. Very good question. So a database, let me see if I have a database I can... See, that's the problem. There it is. Can I enter that one? Exec. Oop. Image. Oh, command. Where's the name? I'll just use this. Don't think it has a name. Oh, it is. It does have a name. Games MongoDB. It's over on the right. So for my Boggle game, there we go. I forget how to use this. Can I do this? No, I don't know. Help. There we go. I can do it. I can figure this out. db dot. Oh yeah, show DBs. I remember this now. So a database is like a very comprehensive solution. Yeah, a file is really it's just a file. It's very simple. It's like a glob of data just sitting there. Whereas a database is a highly like optimized program that has a bunch of files on there to store the data, but it gives you an interface, so it's like you can read and write to the database, and it figures out how to organize it in the files more efficiently. For example, a file you can only read and write one at a time. Like, let's say 5 people are connecting to my website trying to read this file. You got to like make sure they're not going to run in each other's way. Here we go. db.boggle.find. I think I can do this. ID 1000. No. Game ID. Oops. Game ID. Or I can do find one and then just give me one. Dang it. Oh, I can just do find with nothing. No. Alright, give me 1 second, or I'll just look it up here. Why am I typing spaces? Whatever. Collection, not find. Query, filter, options. I don't know. Whoa. Does it show? Point is, it's actually kind of hard to remember how this works. Whereas that other file I was showing you is like just a file. It's really easy to deal with. There we go, find one. Yeah, why is it not? Oh, maybe I have to do this. No? I know I can do, okay. Give me a second. I have a command that'll grab me the bin. Next bin. I back up. That'll grab me the file. Yeah, page equals JSON. This will get me the entire database. I was just trying to show something, but whoa, it's taken a while. I think it's just because it's getting the whole thing. Usually a database is more efficient. There we go. Now I can do this. Well, it's having to reload the whole thing. I just want to see it in sort of a cleaned up format. There we go. Okay. Oh, it's underscore ID. Ah. I'm sorry I'm spending so long on this. Oh. Is that right? I can't even get it now. This is the problem. Like, I gotta documentation or something. Uh-oh. Okay, we're fine. We're fine. Just close this. Oh, stuff is crashing. Alright, I'm not going to try to overload anything. I'll just save this. There we go. Okay, can you still hear me? Is everything still working? Okay. Looks like it. Okay. Boot this back up. But yeah, like, this is a database. It's the same format as that file, kind of. Happens to be. This is JSON format. That's another thing. I use JSON format all the time. JavaScript object notation. Just, it's not very efficient, but it's convenient, so. And the database doesn't actually store it exactly like this. I don't care how it stores it. I just know that when I get the data, it looks like how I need it. But usually a database is a separate program you got to run. That's whatever. A file, I just ran this, like, I mean, it's called DB, but this JSON DB, which is not a real database. It just turns a file into a database by making very simple rules, like you can't write to it at the same time or whatever, two people at the same time. And that way you don't have to manage a whole database. That's the long and short of it. If this gets big, I need to make a database. And I'll relearn all this stuff that I forgot. It's kind of embarrassing. Whatever. Wait, what? T is no. Oh no, we got some random. I think there's an error in my code here somewhere. Oh, it's in this one. Or maybe it's just because stuff was, I don't know. It's not getting the YouTube chat correct. Oh, I see. It's trying to parse it as a Twitch one. Give me a second here. Message.emos. Well, if it's not, then message.text. Okay, I'm gonna try one more. Oh. Oh, because it crashed. Okay. And I want this on the bottom. Oh, and YouTube is what I need to test. Which means I gotta do this because I don't want to wait for a minute. Please hold. Okay. Okay, so that'll come through and may or may not work. It said it was connected. Come on, YouTube. There's multiple problems. Okay, we'll try this again. Wait a second. Yeah, it's connected to the right stream because I did go offline, so I was thinking maybe it's a... Okay, we're back. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe all this is for nothing. So, I guess we're getting close to the last stuff. The other thing is like, this is one of the hard parts, is authentication. The way you do this like login with Twitch stuff. I gotta go to my container here. I just click login and boom, it'll have a pop-up here that asks like confirm you want to log in, whatnot. And then I'm in and I can do all this stuff. Going back to security, if I had a URL, a route for changing this stuff, so for example, changing the YouTube ID, which I do. So this is the one to get the YouTube ID, and then post to publish like the YouTube ID. So the get one, anyone can get the YouTube ID for a given channel. That makes sense. It's like just public information. This Twitch channel is this YouTube. Wait, what happened to, is it just the chat, right? The stream is fine, right? Yeah, okay. But not anyone can set the YouTube ID. That's what I wanted like to restrict. And so there are some hoops to jump through because I had to implement this login with Twitch thing, which is up here. I just basically copied it from some example. All of this, well, not quite all of it, up to here. Just this weird stuff, but like this is where cookies come in, and you kind of end up with a data, like a piece of data for each user that you have to construct, and then it'll save it for you, and it'll give it back to you later when it's like a user's trying to do something versus like a non-logged in user where it wouldn't give you any data. So yeah, you like put together this like authentication strategy, I guess. I don't fully understand it, but you get control over kind of like what user data you're going to save based on the Twitch data. And then when you have a user trying to do something, like set a YouTube ID, there, you'll get a session that'll show up, yeah, in the request data. So the cookies is like a way of handling the session. Let's see. So yeah, session, and you can get different data from that. So there's the user data, that's the data that I actually set up. And so then I have things like is super admin, and then the login name. So if the login name is the same as the channel, or if you are the super admin, then you've got access to change it. So that's kind of the idea. It's like if you're logged in as the channel, you can change it, or if you're the super admin, you can change it. And then from there, the request, it works a little different than the question mark whatever equals. This is a post request, so they have it all hidden. So you got to go through request.body, and I got to jump through some more hoops because I needed this JSON parser. That was a weird bug. Where is that defined? Yep, there we go. Body parser.json. I had to import body parser. Why do they do this to me? But whatever. Then I can actually get the data from the body as JSON. And I can grab, oh, that's a different endpoint. I can grab the YouTube ID from the request data. So is this how you change the web pre and post login? That's actually a different thing. So this is how you do when you hit find channel, it's what's actually calling this find YouTube ID, but and it's returning it. No? Yes. Yeah, it's returning. But then it sets it. Yeah, so it actually does call both. So it sets it and it makes sure you have access. The way it changes if you're not logged in, that's on this slash. There it is. So slash just refers to the thing with nothing. So this slash, like the domain name and then slash with nothing. This hashtag, again, that's the local data. So that doesn't get even sent to the server. So when it's requesting the main page, the slash, it's going to see if there is a session and it's logged in and I have user data for that session. We're going to take this template, which is this index.html, this whole file there, take this template and inject this user data. That's the data that I set up. I harvest from this is code I wrote. This code I didn't write, I just like copied. I wrote this part to harvest data from the Twitch login and put it into my user data. And then the stuff I didn't do, that handles it behind the scenes, gives it back to me when I need it, or when I'm doing a page. So every request comes back with this user if it exists. So if I have the user, I add it into the template. Otherwise, I add in a blank thing to the template. And this will look something like login, then my name. And actually, it's different, like the login and display name. Things like that, and it'll have is superadmin true for me because I have in the secrets I am the superadmin, and when it's logging me in, it checks. Oh, I didn't. Yeah, there we go. It checks. Is it this superadmin? If so, set this to true. This is like an equals operation that'll just return true when it's me. Yeah, so if the channel is the same name as the login, you can change it, the YouTube thing. And that goes for any of these. And this is kind of redundant code. I need to kind of figure out how to make it consolidated. If you want to change these forward commands, you have to be logged in. But yeah, so then this passes to the template. This template has some if-else stuff going on. So if you're logged in, which is defined by login is not empty. So if your login is not empty, then display this thing, otherwise display this thing. So if you're logged in here, it's going to display this with the superadmin if you are the superadmin, that's another flag, and the log out button. And if you're not logged in, it'll display a login button. And like, hey, for streamers, log in here. So that's how I changed the web page pre and post login. There's also a bunch of other switches, like if this is my channel versus if this is someone else's channel. So the button is enabled on this channel versus, whoa, it's lagging. Button is enabled on yours channel. Just little tweaks like that. There, your channel versus this channel. Little if else's just to make it make sense. There's also larger ones of like, if it's enabled, it's green. If it's disabled, it's red, and it says not enabled, and it changes what the button says. So like disable, enable. So all these if else's just manage what it's displaying based on information, some of which is defined by the fact that you're logged in. Yeah, and then we've got all this stuff. Okay. So that's the login. And I think that covers most of the client. So like the actual HTML is pretty short. It's just mainly this chunk here. Oops. This chunk here of like, this like, are you logged in? Are you, what's it called? Which channel you're on? And then the forward commands is this part. Then the chat, which we've already covered in the other section, the other file. So there's some code duplication that I need to resolve. And I'll probably do that by having just one file. Like this index could also handle the chat. It'll just like cut out everything it doesn't need when you request just the chat. But that has its downsides. Then there's all this, that was the HTML. Then there's all this like logic code in the front end here. Oh, we already covered the socket stuff. This is interesting. It's like it's grabbing this part of the URL, everything after the pound sign. So that's pretty cool. So you just go window location.href apparently. I mean, I just looked it up how to do this, and that gets you the whole thing. And then you do that split on this. That gets you the both halves, and then you do it's zero index. So 0 would be the left half, and 1 would be the right half. This is just to deal with null, and then to lowercase. So then you say if it's not, because if there's nothing there, this will be false. This will not do anything. And it'll just kind of sanitize that, and then go from there. And it's saving it into this data, the channel, and then that's also displayed up here. Not when literally word channel, but like here it's, and here. Like anytime it has these brackets in the channel. So there's all sorts of interaction between the HTML, the variables, and then the logic. Yeah, and then there's all sorts of stuff for like finding the YouTube ID and all that. But that's kind of, I could have made it worse and just have you have to put in the live stream video like link, but I wanted to make it better. So that's a lot of this. Is like it was kind of working before, and then I just had to like spend. It's the 80-20 rule. After 20% of the effort, it was like everything was kind of working, and then like, oh, but it's not getting the live chat. It's getting only the top chat. Something's weird. Oh, we need to be able to put in a YouTube channel. Oh, we need to be able to have it automatically detect when you're going live. But hopefully this is kind of like a base of like what's there, and then as features get added on, I can explain them. But yeah, and this is the database thing. It's just like getting and setting data from there based on like where it is in the hierarchy. Like channels / this / enabled. Basically covered everything. Didn't think it would. I thought it'd take longer than this. Yeah, that's it. That's literally like covered every inch of the code. There are other files here. I'll address those real quickly. This all is the node modules. That's the libraries that I installed. It's not super important to look through. This is just a folder with static like images. That's the little pop-out icon. And then the style, that is CSS, which I'm not going to get into. Just making things different colors, different sizes, and whatnot. This is just so my version control doesn't keep track of what's it called, files that are just temporary. How does my website do the stream when it goes live? That is a combination of the Owncast stuff being like already doing that, and then I added on my own on top of that, because like a normal Owncast stream, cast directory. A normal Owncast stream will have, oh, there's me. There's only one other live. That's fine. We'll get one that's live and one that's not. But also, yeah, this is a fun site. You can just find, it's on individual websites, like that's not like they have a commonality between them like Twitch does, where everything's on Twitch TV, but it actually does have a directory. So, oh wow, someone's coding. That's cool. So this is when it's live, and then this is when it's not live. And so I took that difference where it's like it doesn't have a video player when it's not live, and I just added in some, I think it was just CSS or maybe some JavaScript to I'll show you. Oh, new window. To collapse it even further. So it was mostly just like the fact that Owncast already had stuff for that. So here. And I can close that. Where's my there we go. And so this has got further templating type stuff where it just like has commonality between the same pages. Oh, actually it's probably styled mostly. Or yeah, there's some JavaScript here. Oh, that's fine. Yeah, so it's mostly style, which would be in the theme. Or maybe this. Yeah, here we go. So I took this file from Owncast, which is like the main page, and I just modified it so that whenever it's not live, it would have a certain style. Display none. Where is it? Because I did this a while ago, so I forget. And I deleted all the stream info, like the panels below here, and I just added my own panels. Oh, there we go. Here it is. Video container minimum height 0. So that's the thing, is like when there's nothing in here, they have a minimum height. So if it's empty, it won't collapse all the way. I just made that minimum height 0, so it will collapse all the way. And I did important to override it. So that's CSS stuff right here. It's a little janky, but then I can actually just use Owncast. I don't have to write my own or do anything. Because I had a lot of other stuff I wanted to do with the website. I was very picky about it. If you're just using Owncast, you literally just deploy it, and then you go into the settings and you can set up your panels and your information. It looks great. But I just had like an existing website, so I wanted to add that on top of it. But yeah, it was more like deploying Owncast and then patching it then, because I already had a website, but I took my old website, put it to the side, put the Owncast one, and then just brought pieces back in over. And I think it worked out. It's like, oh, did it fail? Oh no, it's just loading. I think it worked out, because then my actual page, it just collapses to there, and it's got everything I normally had. And then I can go to separate, because these ones, they don't have any like tabs. This one I can actually go to like the blog or whatever. And it won't have the live stream on it. The live stream's only on the main page, which is kind of what I wanted. Keep things simple. And this is actually using something called Hugo, which is not Turing complete, I don't think, or it might be. No, it is Turing complete, but it's a server rendered thing where you define all these templates and everything like we kind of saw before, but then you say render, and it renders it out to the singular folder where it is actually just basic HTML. So it actually renders index, and this is only HTML. Yes, it can have JavaScript in there, but there's no server code anymore. And so my entire website is no server code except for the Owncast stuff. But as far as Hugo is concerned, no server code. So yeah, it's interesting because like I can't do certain things because of that limitation, but then I have subdomains for that, and I can deploy other things. So I don't know, it's not perfect, but I really like having this like Hugo thing, because I can write a blog post. Like here's one about how I made binary data encoded in bootlaces, and I write it in Markdown, which we were talking about earlier, and then I can just get to it. Like I didn't have to write the HTML or the title thing on this page. It just takes in this one blog post, assembles everything around it, and then spits this out. And I put in the images. I had to put those into the folder here, blog images, and then that. but like it's literally just a folder in my file system. So I guess I can't open images in there. But yeah, that's the thing, is like I did this a while ago, I guess September, but that's how I get things done, is I always save what I have done, if that makes sense. Like it might look like I've got all sorts of stuff on the website. Yeah. But it's more like I have my programs from like the first few programs I wrote that were able to be used on the web. So like, wait, what's the difference here? Why is there two of them? Oh, this is a new one. Forgot about this. Was a recent one. Oh, it's already generated. But like, I have this old. Oh shoot, it's loading. I think I need to upgrade my server. Or did we run out of mobile data or something? No, we're good. I think my server is just slow. There we go. So this is just a maze generator. But this is literally from more than 10 years ago. Let me see. Yeah, like almost 15 years ago or something. Of when I was writing Perl programs. Oh, and it's got the wrong title. I need to fix that. And so I just made this program. Oh, there we go. Choose door through. Oh, I got it right. Wrong answer. I got that wrong. Door 3, wrong answer. And it doesn't even X out the both doors. Literally made these graphics in Paint. There we go. Now we're in room 3 of 3. But I just hold on to everything I make, and whenever I'm migrating, I just make sure everything works again. I don't know if it's oh, and this is gonna link me to the wrong thing, so I need to fix that link. There we go. So there's an example of like I didn't do it. I didn't quite migrate it right, but it's kind of there. Like play again doesn't work. But yeah, and then this is just like a boring, like a math problem. Here, I'll do one with the problems. Oh man, it's lagging. The other page, I mean. There. And then you submit it and it gives you a score. And so this is all in like Perl, which is kind of outdated at this point. There we go, I got 2 of them right, 13%. Play again, not found. Okay, so I need to fix these. It's .pl. Now I added that on just to differentiate them because that's Perl. There we go, whack-a-mole. Oh, play again because I left it on there for 60 seconds. But yeah, it's literally reloading the entire page whenever you do this. But yeah, I guess it's the equivalent of like if you're streaming, you could do all this cool stuff on stream and then you never do like highlights and clips and all that, because that's actually kind of hard. But then it's like whenever I do something, I like save it. Because like I feel like the past few months I haven't really gotten anything done except for the chat bot now, and it's not even that much code, and it's not like 100% done yet. But like I didn't start it until I guess I started a while ago, and then I totally forgot about it for a while, but I didn't start it until like a week or 2 ago. Start back up. So yeah, I just did, like even this whole year I didn't get much done, but it's all the previous stuff is saved, so it looks like I got a lot done. That's how you do it. And that's how I got my current job, is I showed them this Boggle. And they're like, yay, you know how to deploy something in production and actually have users that play it. Anyway. That is the magic. It's like, yeah, it's way easier just to take the stuff you've already done, or stuff other people have already done, like some of these libraries, and then just save it. Well, it looks like we've had some people playing it recently. I have no idea who these people are. Well, there's me. Oh, I recognize some of these people. This is my brother. I know who that is. That's cool. Wild. Maybe that's why the database is so slow. I think I'm gonna... Who's the champion? Oh shoot. I don't have like a user, because you can just set your name to whatever you want. But we can check out the high score. I think it's my aunt. Is that my aunt? No, that's someone else. My aunt had some sort of high score. Oh yeah, in this one. Fewer, like harder, but no, that's... Okay, someone beat her high score. That's wild. I have the high score. This is extra time though. And extra space, which makes it way easier, so that doesn't count. But yeah, it really depends on the board size. That's why you have to compare apples to apples. Even though somehow, a fluke, someone got a higher score on the smaller board, which is harder. But hey, I technically have the high score. Did I cheat on this one? No, because there was one of them, I think I deleted that game, where I ran the bot or whatever. Because something's got to check the words, so I just ran the thing that checks the words and just pasted in all the words. But no, this one was legit. Man, I can't do this anymore. My brain has rotted since then, I feel like. Highest percent found. That's a cool idea. Ah, that's cool. This is like a really unique board in that there's only 36 words possible. Just not a lot of vowels, I guess. But I didn't implement any sort of login, which is why it's so popular. It's just like you can just play it without annoyingness. But then that way I don't get to see who's in the lead because people choose different nicknames and whatnot. Yeah, not a lot of people playing the other board sizes. Anyway, I think I'm gonna end soon, unless so the emotes are working. Let me just take a quick look at some other emote based stuff. So if I put in like a 7TV emote, yeah, it literally just shows up as text. So it's handled completely differently than the other emotes. But if I put in all these emotes, that still works, right? Let me find them. Dang it, where did they go? There it is. I'll just copy that. That all works? It took a second to load them. Yeah, I think it's like if you have the extension, it figures everything out on the client side. Twitch doesn't even know about 7TV, or like they probably do, but as far as the code's concerned, they don't know about it. Same with BTTV and Franker, or FFZ, Franker Face Z. I don't know. Same with all the emotes. Yeah, 7TV just puts it in as text and then puts it back to emote. Yeah, exactly. Everything happens on the client side, and that's kind of like an interesting thing. Is like if you can get a bunch of people to install a client, and actually now with 7TV as an extension, it sort of mixes the idea of like, oh, there's nothing there, of a client that the server just sends you every time, which is like Twitch client, and a client that you install, which is like the 7TV extension. So if there's an update to 7TV, you got to update your browser extension, which is unlike the way Twitch server client works. So it's interesting. But yeah, like they're just kind of bypassing Twitch and they're just putting it as text. So I'm gonna have to figure out how to find which emotes are enabled in a channel for one, because it's duplicates, if I recall correctly, on 7TV. You got to enable a certain one for a certain phrase, and then same with all the other systems. But I think Twitch emotes is a great start. Did I deploy it? I think I did deploy it. Because what have I changed? Oh, that's fine, and this is just temporary. So I've changed nothing. I just deleted a comment that I didn't mean to add. And yeah, I think I built it recently. Yeah, Twitch emote support, and then I built it. That's the other thing I haven't even touched on is Git version control. It'll keep track of your changes, so you can go back to any point. Every time you do like a commit, that's the point you can go back to. So I have this commit log of everything I've done. So I guess I started this a few weeks ago. But then before that it was the nicknames. So I don't know, I guess it's been going on like a month, but off and on. There's a few weeks in there where I did not do anything. And that's fine. It's hard for me to believe that. Okay, actually I can say that's done. Okay, wait, so how important is 7TV and everything? Because like people's channel emotes will work and global. Because then the next thing I want to work on is kind of like, before I merge in the nickname bot, to kind of do some abstraction. There it is, yeah. Not that important. Okay, yeah. So I'll just put that on the shelf for now. And I'll take a minute to simplify some of this, because this is something important I've learned, which maybe I'm doing too much of it. So there's this idea of abstraction where you take your code that's doing something, and let's say you have the same code like twice or 3 times, you kind of pull it out and put it into a function. I haven't done enough of that, except for things like get channels. Like if you want to get the list of all the channels, I'm going to do that so often that I have a function for it. It just makes sense. But you can notice this code kind of looks like this code. I mean, it's just even the shape of it, but the actual, like, it's very, very similar. And so I want to abstract that out, because these are just things that, like the code says, like, I have an endpoint, I have some data that's coming through, or a route rather, whatever, data that's coming through to that route or endpoint, and then I'm going to set something based on that data. And I'm going to send it out live. So this is sending a socket message to say this thing's updated. Yeah. So when I was talking about callbacks are a type of function, and these are just going to be a normal function, not really a callback. So yeah, and I might even make an object, which is like I haven't even gotten into object-oriented coding. But it's overrated anyways. But yeah, callback is like a rare type of function. Or not rare, but like most functions are not callbacks. I'll make this wrap. There we go. Wrap text. What just updated? Oh, I'm seeing my scrolling on OBS, and I thought it was chat. Wait, what am I telling him? Okay. Man, this is going to be a pain to edit this. I'll try, and if it's too much to edit, I'll just rather re-explain it to you again later. You know what I mean?